Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Commission. I'll start with reading the preamble. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Recusals from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Proper channels for comments are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the Wednesday 12 p.m. deadline are collected by City Planning staff and disseminated to the Commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Proper channels are listed below: sending an email to the City Planning email address, calling or leaving a message on our number, sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall. A little more detail about the proceedings and how we'll go through each agenda item. The chair will call each agenda item and each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation must be completed prior to questions and comments from the Commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask planning staff to summarize design review committee recommendations and any public comments received. The deadline for public comments is noon on the Wednesday prior to any regularly scheduled City Planning Commission meeting and will be read into the record. Any comments received by the deadline are distributed to Commission members prior to the meeting through Dropbox. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item for which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff if applicable. The Commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any Commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
Thank you very much. Good morning. First, we'll call the roll. Michael?
Anthony.
Present.
Luker.
Present.
Curry.
Present.
McCray Scott. McKnight. Sergeant.
Present.
Slight.
Present.
There we go.
We have a form. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the May 17th meeting. We had them in advance. We have a copy here if anyone needs them. I was not here, so I will abstain. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the May 17th meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Luker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes. Or sorry, abstain.
Are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
Sergeant.
Abstain.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes pass. First item is a lot split and consolidation for permanent parcel number 002-31-055. This is at 1944, 46, and 48 West 54th Street. Paul from Vegan Architectural Design, are you here or online?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, interesting little section of West 54th Street. This lot has 3 houses on it,
Take
and
your time.
historically,
Oh, wait. Okay, hold on 1 second. We're just pulling up the item.
okay, no worries. I
right.
see. I noticed that.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Interesting section of West 54th Street. Several parcels in this section of the block have multiple houses on a single lot. These houses have been there, more than 100 years. It's just an odd section of the street. The owner of this parcel just wants to separate the parcel so that each house actually ends up being on its own parcel. There is an access easement for getting back to each of the houses that are on this particular lot. So really, it's just recording a lot split for existing houses that are already there and historically have been on a lot. That the property adjacent is already split into 3 parcels. And that was done, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago for the exact same reasons.
So is there already an agreement on maintenance, snow removal? Has that been going on? How's that work? Since it's
Yes. There's no intention really for ownership to sell these parcels separately. It's really more for insurance and liability type of issues than it is for necessarily to have them be separate. Yes, there is a shared access and maintenance agreement in place between all of the parcels.
Okay.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, are these all leased structures?
Yes, they are. They're for rent.
Well, I believe we will need to, the director will need to see proof of the maintenance and access agreement before she can sign off on the parcels. So that they'll need to see that proof that it's recorded.
Okay.
The
We
only-
can submit that.
Madam Chair, the only other question I have, and maybe it's not an issue, however, when you create property lines, then fire separation distances as it relates to code might come into play. Are you putting any encumbrance on any of these structures as a result of that? And have you reconciled that with the building department?
Yes, we have been, permits have already been done and completed for the renovation of these houses. And yeah, we are okay. We have issues on other parts of the property line, not necessarily between the ones between them.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I move to approve the lot split as presented with the caveat that the applicant submit any evidence and record documents for any easements that would allow access and egress and access and trash removal.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent. Yes. White.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. There is a second lot split and consolidation 007-02-061 at 4190 Bailey Avenue. Is Jackson Curry, the property owner here? No relation to Ms. Curry here.
Yep, I am. I'm dialed in by phone.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay.
Give the sides.
Yeah, so I own this property on Bailey. And the neighbor had reached out. They have almost no yard, and my property kind of wraps around theirs in an L shape. They wanted to buy some yard. So we came to a deal on a number to buy it, and I'm just trying to split the parcel so that I can sell them the section of land that's behind their house. So I
Is there
have
a map of this?
what's that?
Do you have a map of this lot split too?
Yeah. Do you guys have the presentation?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
This shows just the parcel. Where's the lot?
where's the split?
Where's the split? Where's the split
So
here?
slide 2, that red line, that's a split. So I'll sell them approximately 55 by 27 feet and, you know, retain the other 32 by 27 feet of yard for Bailey.
Is it just like
Slide
a
3, what's that?
We don't see any real red
Red
line.
line.
On the survey on slide 2?
We don't have a survey, actually. We just have a existing condition.
Presentation that I finished has 6 slides. On slide 2, there should be a mortgage survey that has the line drawn on it.
See it. That just goes down.
I know, I'm like,
Yeah, I think the house is an upside down L shape then. Like, yeah, that's where it is.
But then how would you, it's like a flag parcel.
We ask the applicants confirm. We just maybe they could confirm that it's drawn down from the.
But we would need streets. It looks like a flag parcel then. You know what I'm saying?
well, I'm gonna make this simple because we can't see what he's talking about and he can't tell us what he's talking about. So therefore, I would like to move to postpone. I got that down. This item number, parcel number 00702-061, until such time the applicant has the evidence to demonstrate what he proposes to do.
Well, it's on that second slide, there's the blue outline that has all the measurements. 55 feet in. So on that left side, where it says 55.05 feet, that section that's behind their property. And then slide 3, there's the multicolor outline, that's their property. So just the section of yard that's right behind theirs.
I'm just saying, like, we can't see it, so we need a better, this is not normally how someone presents this to us, so. Anyway, we have a motion.
There's a motion,
We have a
yep.
second.
Second.
Motion and a second to postpone. You can come back in 2 weeks if you like, and we can take a look at it there. Can you call the roll?
Hampton,
Yes, sorry.
Booker,
Yes,
Shuri,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
It would also be helpful to see the streets and the adjacent houses.
context.
Contact. All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. The next item is a design review case, Northeast Design Review. This is 2023-030, Huff Community Green Space. I think you need to recuse yourself,
Yes, Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
Member Fluker. This is at 15, 2 of you.
So what does that mean? I can't leave?
No. That means we can't hear it.
Okay.
Well, so
can't
hold
leave.
on, we are going to, because we really, even though I think,
We had confirmed with another member to be online, but we do not see
that person, and also one is not feeling well, so could she pop in, even though she,
Tried.
Yeah. all right, hold on, we're gonna try it back. The next item is Near West Design Review, 2023-031, College and Professor Apartments, new construction, seeking final approval. Brandon, are you the only one here to speak to this from Geis?
From Geis, I think ownership might be on. Brad Nosen, yeah, Brad Nosen's on as well. From the
Okay.
ownership.
Hello.
So I'm gonna swear you all in together. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I would like to
I do.
note that the Planning Commission granted this project formerly known as Tremont Treehouse schematic approval on March 1st. And we have the notes here as well. So go ahead, Brandon.
I'll try to keep it brief. I know there was almost a motion originally when we presented this to grant final approval, but we did not go through the block club process final we had presented, but we didn't get a vote yet. So we're back now with full final approval from design review and then also a block club. There is a BZA hearing that will be on Monday for this project. It's a 43-unit building, parking on the ground floor with a restaurant, retail, spec space along Professor. The parking is partially tucked under. The right row of parking is exposed surface, and the left row, you can see the bold line for the boundary of the building, and that kind of upside down L shape area that wraps around the treehouse beer garden and building. The only comments we had from the original was the outdoor dining area, trying to create maybe some outdoor dining to give some relief to the entrance and the lobby of the lobby and amenity area. And then our only comment or condition of the approval was relocating the proposed bike racks, which we agreed to. We'd relocate them to the north corner between the transformer and the utility room doors and extend the sidewalk over just the north above that first car space. Outside of that, the design has just kind of evolved, but materiality and details have all stayed constant. I'm going to keep going through the slides. There's a roof terrace on the fourth floor that steps back. We also lowered the height of the building. I think originally we proposed around a 55-foot floor top of building. It's now 49 feet. Exterior lighting. We have one pole light that we wanted to create a little bit more of a residential style on Thurman. It's just an access apron to the rear of the site. Next slide. So this was a slide that we had talked about at design review to relocate the bike racks. We had 2 bike racks on the front of the building, and we're going to locate them just under where the word says acres, just to the right of that door, that the electrical room. Next slide. So here's a rendering of the existing treehouse structure with the new apartment building and step back on the roof terrace along the edge. It's a masonry building with some metal panel inserts and some recessed U-channel detailing to create some reveals. Next slide. View down, Professor. Next slide. The church in the background is some context to height. Next slide. Just a bird's eye aerial of the building and context.
Brandon, where will the front main entrance and signage be? And is that part of this package?
Signage will come back for.
But where will it be? Like, it seems fairly sort of nondescript about where you would end from either side.
Some discussions have been that we're not necessarily sure that we would end up maybe having a large marquee sign for the apartment building itself. The restaurant we talked about, I'll call pier mounted, hung signs that would hang over the sidewalk to give a little bit more of a retail presence and pedestrian scale for the ground floor restaurant.
Well, you'll be back with lighting and signage.
Lighting is included, but signage, yes.
Okay. And could you show me where the main entrance is on the renderings, not the plan?
Yeah, so it's just behind that. If you see the grass hedge, there's a small walkway, and that was one of the comments at design review to create a little bit wider feel. We pulled back the storefront, the second bay and the third bay, as you're walking towards that inside corner. The main entrance, the apartment building would be in that kind of nestled area and nook on the inside corner of the building.
Like in the L?
Yeah, in the inside of the L, yeah. So whoever's controlling that. So second and third bay, there's a recessed pocket that's about 6 foot recessed to allow for some 2 top table seating for the proposed restaurant, and then a small entranceway. The intention here is really that it's kind of nestled in the neighborhood and it's not, standing out like a lot of apartment buildings have, very marquee entrances.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, I have some concerns, and I know it's just the nature of how this project manifested itself. I mean, where you're parking under the building, it's like it's gonna be really dark. seems like there's a huge expanse of blank wall. How are you treating that? I mean, in terms of people being safe or feeling safe? Because you are sort of going pretty into the bowels of the site and into a really dark and secluded area.
The garage, the Tuckahoe garage area will be fully lit with lighting, surface mounted fixtures under the underside of the second floor. So it'll feel like a parking garage. We line the perimeter with arborvitae and dense hedges to create kind of a boundary and buffer. And then there is a security fence along the perimeter. One of the items that did come up in Block Club was pedestrian safety, walking past the entrance to the garage off of College, which we agreed that we put alarm sensors that when the garage door opens, that a soft beep will happen to notify pedestrians that a car's exiting or entering. And those will be fast action doors, so they'll coil and close, quickly to create that security.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was open. So you're saying, Madam Chair, to the applicant, that there are parking controls that closed it down, so it's essentially inside the building.
Correct. The only thing that would be open,
Okay.
The right side, if you're looking at this rendering, I think there's a rendering that actually showcases this for you, Mr. Fluker. Maybe back a couple slides. Yeah, here you go. So we have piers that are holding up that right, back one. There's piers that every about 30 feet hold up the building on that right edge. There's a fence at the streetscape, and then behind this tree is a coiling overhead door. And then the same condition happens to the northern end where that dry vapor and alpha thermin occurs. Apologize for rushing through this. I was just trying to keep you guys on task.
No, I understand now. I thought it was an open garage. Okay.
And there's no entrance on this facade. This is where the restaurant is, or is the restaurant on the other side?
Yeah, the restaurant's on other. This is College, but there's a stairwell access point from the street.
There. Oh, so it's over there.
So in this rendering, behind the main access way would be between. Oops, sorry.
So what's at the ground level right there then?
On the bottom
That-
front corner
Is that garage?
to the right of that vertical, if you take the whole vertical masonry area, everything to the right of that is garage. Everything to the left of that is walk-up units. There should be there's 3 walk-up units that occur kind of along the left edge of the building on the ground floor.
Do they have front door? Do they have access from the street?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a small walkway that kind of wraps around the perimeter of Treehouse and to the that restaurant.
Oh. Now he's explaining it. It's
Yeah,
cool.
that's. Well, I mean, it's cool because it will activate. It's not like it'll activate that edge. So anyway, thank you. This isn't for you or anything. I'm just curious because I haven't been over there in a while. What is the project that was proposed across the street under construction or completed? Remember the lot across from this? Was that done a while ago? The big lot?
Was that here or was that across from South?
It's that cross. You're thinking about the one across from South Side.
Yeah, isn't that right? It's
Yeah.
done?
That's under construction.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, or it's under-
They're well under. Yep.
They're well
So if you-
under.
If you could,
We
if you
saw
go back
that
to
at
that site plan real quick, I'll just point out there's about an 8-foot wide walkway that buffers between the building and the existing treehouse that wraps around and out to Professor towards the entrance. So yeah, there's the walk-up units, and then the amenities will all line that kind of alley and create a buffer between the 2 buildings.
Nice. Commission members?
All right, well, Madam Chair, yes, I'm gonna be the person who calls on these motions. I move to approve item number 2023-031, College and Professor Apartments for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second, before I call the roll. I think it's a really, really nice project. I don't think I saw it the first time, so I think it's really well done, really thoughtful on the ground floor, so call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yeah.
Twice.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you,
Next
Ellen.
item, you're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
In near west is 2024-009. This is Urban Community School, new construction for rec center for schematic approval, 2024 West 47. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury.
I do.
Extra bonus point for coming in person.
All right.
Just so you know. We'll be nicer to you. We miss people. We miss people.
Glad
All
to be here.
right, be
Thank you
nice.
very much.
They came. I'm just kidding.
Can we do a cheer? Go Wolves.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Appreciate that. Can I give a quick 30-second overview of how we're thinking about it? So our campus has expanded quite a bit over the last 5 years or so. We have a mental health center in addition to the school, open a childcare building, looking for ways to expand summer programs, evening programs for the school, but also to meet the need of Near West Rec, which is a local rec league that a lot of kids play in. And they've had scattered sites for years, do a great job. This would be a home for Near West Rec as well. And then it would also be home to the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, would be a northern wing of this. They've never had a location, and they've been looking for a physical place as well. So kids in Cleveland who would be playing would be in the context of the Hall of Famers who've grown up in the city and live in the city. And, so think of it as, you know, an extension of the school during the day, but a community hub evenings and weekends. That's the big picture of how we're thinking about it.
Okay, we'll just run you through the presentation quickly. This first slide here is an aerial view looking from south to north of the campus, just to orient everyone. The new building is proposed for the east side of West 47th there on the right-hand side. It consists of a little over 30,000 gross square feet, a pre-engineered metal building of about 20,000 square feet. And
What number is it?
16.
All right, got it. Over there.
Between 47th and 46th, yeah.
Thank you.
And then a conventional steel building on the north side that supports, I'll show you that in a minute, that supports the gymnasium consisting of about 10,000 square feet. The whole site consists of a number of consolidated parcels. There are 4 buildings on site that are vacant that the school already owns that are scheduled for demolition. Next slide. Another aerial here, just from Google Earth, showing the proposed site between 47th and 46th. Next slide. Some photographs of the site now taken from the ground. It's from 47th, looking from south to northeast of the site. You can see a couple of those buildings that are going to be brought down to make way for the project, but the vast majority of the 1.2 acres is already vacant on the north side of the existing House of Champions. Next slide. Some additional photography here. The photograph on the left is looking south now, down 47th, and then another one looking north on 47th there on the right-hand side. Next slide. A couple of shots of West 46th Place, the alley that will remain intact on the east side of the building. Next slide. Now some overall site plans of the master plan for the campus. All of the existing structures there on the left. You can see the crosshatched area there on the right side of the page is the location for the building. Next slide. A graphic indicating the 4 buildings that will be removed as a part of the project. There are the dashed lines in red. Next slide. And now our site plan superimposed onto the 1.2 acres. We'll do a blow up here in a couple slides. This is more of a to get you oriented. Once we get past this slide, we rotate the drawings so that north is to the left. That's the final slide where north is up. A drawing of the parcels now. This is Riverstone's drawing of all the parcels that are going to be consolidated. Next slide. Another aerial. Seen this already. Go ahead. So this is our site plan. The building occupies essentially the midpoint of the parcels to be consolidated. We have a small parking lot that occurs on the north end of the building that'll house 24 parking stalls. We did meet with local design review and made a number of changes and improvements to the package since that time a couple of weeks ago. The location of the parking lot was one of those modifications that we made. The original entrance was on axis with the Metro Health parking lot that you see there, and one of their suggestions and requests was to move that off of that axis, which we did. It's now more of a traditional double-loaded row of parking there with some additional green space that will be used for landscaping on the north side of the building. Then we've got the building itself, a sidewalk that will be connected all along the west side of the project, and then a decorative biocell for stormwater will occur on the south side of the building there between House of Champions and the south side of the gymnasium. Next slide. Now we go inside the building. This is the first floor plan. You can see the building intends to house a total of 4 basketball courts, 3 cross courts that run east-west that are 84 foot, and then a main championship court that is oriented north-south. It's a standard size of 94-foot long court. On the left side of the slide here, you can see the 2-story structure that will house all of the support facilities, the restrooms, the locker room, storage, reception area / concessions, and as Tom mentioned, this shell space for the future Hall of Fame area there on the far northwest corner of the building. The main entry vestibule is just south of that monumental stair that will connect to the second floor mezzanine. Next slide. And as we go up to that second floor, the conventional building, it will house a number of office spaces, support facilities. There'll be an elevator, of course, and then a large multi-purpose room that with an operable partition that will house classroom space or meeting facilities. Next slide.
Quick question programmatically.
Mhm.
Wasn't a need for like a state-of-the-art weight room or workout room?
We have one internally at the school for our staff use.
I mean, for the athletes.
Yeah,
I've just been seeing a
if
few
wishes were horses, we
gyms
would have loved
lately.
one, but it just didn't fit in. We did look at a basement at one point to consider that possibility, but it was just outside of our scope. I think it didn't fit. The other thing is a lot of the kids that will be using it aren't old enough to start lifting weights and on treadmills yet. Right? We're talking a
True.
lot about
They're
little
younger.
kids.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The next couple of slides are the 2D elevations. These depict a number of the additional commentary that we received from the design review meeting. We added a band to help tie together the north and south parts of the building, the conventional building with the pre-engineered metal building. We've got some additional fenestration that occurred on the north elevation that was requested as a part of that meeting that's been added. Next slide. This is the south elevation now of the pre-engineered metal building. Those are cow wall panels, so those are all the vertical windows that flank each of the structural bays in the gymnasium are all translucent panel systems to allow some natural light without affecting the views of the athletes within the building. Then the subsequent slides are just a number of 3D views now, renderings of the building. If you are familiar with UCS, you know that many of their structures are bright colors, curvilinear forms that serve as visual anchors for each of the different buildings. And that was the theme that was used to identify the main entry of the building here using the school color of the green with a sweeping curve that extends to the north over the top of the Hall of Fame, provides some weather protection for the main entry there, adjacent to the monumental stair. The signage we would have to come back for once that's determined. We also are in the process of establishing the site lighting around the building as well. You can start to leaf through a couple of these final slides. Some aerial views now of the campus, different curvilinear roof structures.
Is there any opportunity to wrap the glass, if you go back to the first elevation slide. I mean, I love it. It's just I love the project, but like back one. Yeah, is that, for the most part, just because it's a gym, there isn't an opportunity for much light in the corner. But the corner building, the two-story building, is there any other opportunity to kind of wrap that glass you have facing the other way a little bit around the corner? So that it's like the beacon, and you've got kind of the solid, just a suggestion. I know we're at schematic, but like this is the largest facade and it's the street facade. And there isn't much light, and you've done it around the entrance, but certainly that office space piece could wrap a little bit and just have a little bit more kind of, it's pretty solid there with the brick. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I understand. There are two factors at play with that I would just mention, and we'll be happy to study that. Number one, the Hall of Fame is seeking wall space
True.
for all of their treatments that will occur once that space is identified in terms of the interior. Number two, that's likely going to be a large panel for signage once Tom's doing a great job
Right.
raising money for the donors, and that's really the
name
spot for a
opportunity.
billboard naming opportunity that we have in our mind's eye for that. The office spaces there on the first and second floor, certainly those narrow slot windows, we could consider augmenting the amount of glass there. Could consider maybe some clerestory glass that would occur in some type of band. I appreciate the suggestion.
Okay. Or swapping some of the glass from the other side of the Hall of Fame is all glass.
Yeah.
And it's actually the lower height space where the exhibitions would be at eye level. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
As opposed to the clear story. So from an exhibition point of view, ironically, they would probably have more exhibitions along the lower lot wall than they would in the two-story space. So I don't know their program, but anyway, it's for you to study. It's just a
Okay.
suggestion.
Thank you.
All right, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I think that about wraps it up. The balance of the slides have to do with civil drawings that were requested, as well as our landscape plan and tree preservation plan. Conclude the presentation.
Madam Chair, a couple of comments for the applicant. The window adjacent to the UCS, I guess signage about front seems a bit weird placed on there. I think that's the stairwell, and maybe want to get some light in there, but I'm wondering if that could be on the side of that panel or that part of the building that's right now, as opposed to kind of impeding with the sign there. Also, the switch to kind of the green panel next to what I believe is the ADA entrance and kind of the maybe the middle of that facade seems again a little bit weird to switch to a full length of green. You're probably wanting to call to that entrance, but it just seems kind of awkward. It's a large space between those window panes. And then also because I assume that you're routing the water directly to that fire retention cell, the gutters also seem like a really strong presence on the front of the building. If there's any way we can do something to hide, like, I know that it seems that they're centered on the window panes, but if you go to the renders, it's like, when I'm looking at that building, my eye just falls to those gutters. And I'm wondering if we could move that somewhere else, maybe to the backside of the building, because you're probably just routing it underground directly to the cell. So I'm wondering if we just get those gutters off the front of the building.
Are you talking about the vertical downspouts?
Yeah.
Okay.
The downspouts,
Yeah,
sorry.
I would need to do some stormwater calculations to identify if we could eliminate some of them.
Yeah, is there any way to, because you're probably going directly into a pipe and going directly to the retention, so I'm wondering if yeah, if we can get maybe one or two or three off of them, or change the rhythm. I just think, again, if you look at the render, it's like a strong vertical element. It kind of cuts through the green and the brick banding. If there's any way we could kind of,
Be happy to look at that. Just to address, and I appreciate the note about the glass of the stair. We'll certainly look at that. The green panel here again falls into the category of a potential signage background. That's the impetus behind why that's there, so that the signage could be consistent with respect to what is likely going to occur at the main entry, and then potentially on the side of the, above that other entrance to the southeast. So
I think
that was the
makes-
rationale.
That makes a bit more
Makes
sense,
sense.
without seeing the signage.
Yeah. I think the signage is a huge opportunity to not just, you wouldn't do it, but not just slap it on there, but
Yeah.
actually deal with the fact that this is a large gym with not a lot of openings, right? And to do it in a way that it's actually really cool and exciting. It's a kind of a thing that you could use really to liven this up. I have a general comment, and it's not for this project, but something that I might ask the staff to think about with you. The thing I love about urban community and how you've developed this campus over time, south of Lorraine, like it's awesome, right? It's like it's gone from like one thing to collection to like a place, right? But the part that is missing that would require the city's help is the fact that south of Lorraine, if you look at even the way you show the streets there, is that people now traverse your campus like horizontally, right? And we haven't worked with the city to make sure that on the city streets, there are colorful crosswalks. It really shows that this is a campus and it's such a huge opportunity, but it wouldn't be that expensive. It might require just us working with you to think about kind of so that the students have this kind of ceremonial way to go horizontally through this awesome campus that just developed over time. So like right here, for example, right? We've got this collection of buildings, but I'm not really intentionally as a young student, I'm just gonna cross where I cross, right? And it's gonna feel like I'm going through a city street that may not actually be as nicely paved as you're showing it, truthfully. So I think thinking about that in the future and us working with you that is not that expensive. Could be paint, could be different texture of, but.
If I can make a quick comment on that. So we totally agree. You know, a lot of our mindset over the years has been to keep kids off of Lorraine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Lorraine has been so dangerous.
Totally.
So if that streetscape comes, you know, eventually we hope that kids would come in off the streetscape. into the
Exactly.
building. So they
Totally.
don't have to kind of get to the back of campus. That has largely just been a practical reality of Lorraine is the biggest danger that we face every day. To be very direct in terms of the traffic on that street. So-
Or is there a moment, sorry, to take one quick look up and see if there is some kind of now potential for connecting through an entire walkway like this to organize? Because it isn't organized right now. It's just been a series of developments, but that's up there. Go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say, there's precedent for this. I would go to some college campuses like Purdue, for example, Syracuse, because I've spent a lot of time there. You begin to create this language. And then when people see the colors or the tabletops or whatever, the crosswalks aren't just these little spindly pencils. They become probably the width of a parking garage or wherever you're trying to go to, a green space. So I think there's some opportunity to incorporate something like that and people feel safe. It's traffic calming as well. And children will be safe because that's what we're talking about.
And a lot of this was beyond our imagination when we started.
amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun, but yes, it has been as we've been able. Yeah.
It's a logical next step. It's not a criticism.
Yeah.
So like a moment now to connect the whole campus and exciting. And I think an area where we collectively can work with you on that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Why didn't you do all this when I was here? I'm just kidding.
Took us a minute.
Yeah, joking.
Madam Chair, two quick things. One, just a question, I guess, for staff. Since this does require the consolidation of parcels, do those typically come when this is approved, final approval? Does that include the consolidation of the parcels or would that come as a separate thing? I am trying to figure out if there's ways we can be a little more efficient. And the implication is if we approve this, and obviously we're approving the consolidation of parcels, can that be done administratively or does that have to come back separately?
Right, so most lots that are conforming, so the size of it, right, because it will exceed the minimum lot
Okay,
standard, will be signed off administratively, so when the applicant completes their survey, it'll come through our office for attendance.
Gotcha. And then, Xavier, could you scroll back to just one of the vertical renderings, just to kind of have a. No, keep going to the rendering, like there. In the final, on this side of the building, on the other side of the building, I appreciate there's a tree preservation plan.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be a little more forceful about causing the planting of large growth canopy trees on private property when space allows on projects. So I think on either side of this building seems to be enough real estate for something like a pin oak. And as we, a lot of what we end up looking at ends up being more ornamental trees, tree lawn trees. It's Ohio City, so there's not as much space. But I'd really like for us to see if there's an opportunity to plant trees that over the long term will contribute to the canopy of the neighborhood. And I also think just like aesthetically make the campus a nicer, more pleasant shaded place. So I know maybe this is just schematic, so it's just not being shown, but I'd love to see that in a final approval. And for us to realize that we're gonna have to kind of maybe compel those things to happen if we're not thinking about it.
So this is schematic, so we can come back with, I think, thinking about the comments that we have. I would say that for final, in this instance, I think we need to see the signage. And you can put like placeholders if you're fundraising. Could be like the Fluker Center for gymnasium. But like, because it is so important now to go from this to the next level, just for us to see and give final approval and include things like trees. And the point he makes, actually, we should say also, like, I know resources are always a thing, but if you were now to do a campus plan, to August's point, you would look at actually the entire kind of tree planting for this campus now across it, that would actually bring shelter to the kids across the whole campus, that might actually get aligned with the way that you might now traverse the whole campus. Could be very cool to think about allays of trees, things like that. It's like a nice moment to do it. I really would encourage you to think about, not a ton of money. You guys wouldn't charge very much. You might do it for free. Right?
Man, you're giving away everybody's money.
Like just a little campus master plan. I'll come over and help. It's really easy. So I'm being serious.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, you'll be glad to know that our environmental teacher is all over me for what
Yeah,
this
there
is
you
gonna
go.
look like as well. So council, we got internal support at the school. Yeah, we take it seriously.
Okay. We need a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve, project for schematic design. With the, comments made by Councilor Slight with regards to the, incorporation of, canopy trees, also to the applicant to come back for final approval, we talk about signage and some of the other comments on the side.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carries. Can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
Tony.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.
I'm just gonna check any forum folks popping in.
Not as of yet. I do have a recommendation to the chair, perhaps after we finish the action items for design review prior to public art, if the two applicants would like to do an informational presentation, at least to familiarize the position.
I mean, we've seen them both, so I don't think we need that. I don't want to put them through it. Let me ask them, what do you prefer, to just postpone and come back, or wait? It's not looking very good and we apologize. We really had an illness, so it was not something, Isabella, so it really was an unforeseen condition. But we want to be respectful of your time. So is your preference to just us to postpone, put you first on the agendas, both of these items? We can put you first at the next meeting. You don't have to sit here all day because it's not looking good.
Madam Chair, as the client.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
two clients.
yeah, well, I mean, what's holding us up from getting a permit build, bringing online
Yeah.
$2 million parking.
Yeah.
Is approved by the planning commission. So if it would speed up the process and you allow an informal presentation, so commission members familiarize yourself with it, would be our preference. So we can make sure.
But we're gonna have to
coming
rehear
2
it.
weeks- I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to rehear it, meaning that it you're gonna have to rehear it just because, so it's not like we can administratively do it afterwards.
Well, we have the new sign that I have up on my computer that I could possibly share. It's the only one that.
No, hold on, not you. We're talking about something else. Sorry for 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize. So meaning like regardless, you're coming back in 2 weeks. So,
We're first on the agenda, that'll be fine.
okay. Don't be upset with us. There is really an illness.
Disappointed.
Okay.
I'm
Uh,
with you.
How do you feel about birthing beautiful communities till we, okay, so, okay, well, we apologize, really. I could not have helped it, so, go ahead.
Madam Chair, because I can't make a
Yeah,
motion.
go.
Someone has to move
Yeah.
to postpone both of these
You can say.
separately.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the
So
first
does-
one,
Sorry, does this mean that we're postponed till next
Oh,
week?
no, not you,
No,
hold
not
on.
you.
Not you, hold on.
Pay attention.
The first one would be.
Sorry, I saw my heart.
Don't worry, it's Birthing Beautiful Communities, so can I have a motion to postpone to that one?
So
I
moved.
didn't get an agenda, so.
Okay, we have a motion from the councilman, a second from Erica. Call the roll. Yep,
Anthony,
yes,
Luker,
you can abstain.
Abstain.
Booker's abstain,
Stain, Curry,
yes.
Summers. Yeah. White.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And then I'll move to postpone the Huff Community Green Space.
Second. Motion and second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Abstain.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent,
Abstain.
White.
Yes.
Motion carries. So we'll see those first. Please put them absolute first and we'll put them on the agenda. Okay, I think you're next online, which is Far West Design Review, 2024-007, West Park Constellation School signage. Final approval, 162 Lorraine 16210 Lorraine Avenue. Laura, I now,
Yes.
brilliant sign, need to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
You get the award for most active participant online ever. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was me. I'm trying.
You're fine. Go ahead.
At least I got you all to giggle.
Yeah. All right, we have the presentation, I believe, so go ahead.
Okay, so this looks like just satellite property lines measurements on top of where you could see the sign would be. Yours is a little harder to see on your screen, but it's on Lorraine where the sign would be. You can see the off of Lorraine. You switch the slides.
Monument sign.
Either way, this is just pointing to where you could see the signs, where the signs are, just going down the streets and going up and down, going down Lorraine Road of where or if you could see the signs. We do a lot of those pictures just to get a clear image of everyone in the board, understanding what we're trying to put up and that it's not too far, it's not into traffic or hurting anyone, turning into, let's say, a Walgreens. Next slide. Same thing.
Can you address are you meeting the conditions from the local design review, scale down to 6 feet, proportionally, scale back logos?
We did that and we received that today. And it looks a lot different. I sent it to a couple people. Xavier, I sent it to
This is not that.
Nate Law, and I sent it to Michael Bozak.
I can try to pull it up.
Let him pull it up real quick because then we can approve it.
Because that's the sign you have up there on the screen. We did a lot of modifications. We put a white address on the bottom, on the blue. We switched the logos.
Hold on, he's pulling it up.
Okay.
Give him 1 second.
I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
It's our job.
I know.
This is our job. All right, here we go. Is this it?
It sure is.
All right.
You got it. Woohoo!
All right. So you've met all the conditions. Sounds like.
We did.
Okay.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, I do have a question. Could you identify what these logos are from left to right?
A B.
Because I can't read, I can't see them.
They're the
Okay.
Councilman knows. Come on, Councilman.
I will say that I don't. I was actually gonna make a dig that I think West Park should be 2 words, but I'm not gonna, that's the name of the school.
Oh.
So I can't change that.
Does that offend you?
Yeah. It's a low level debate with the neighborhood. you know? Yeah.
There is a zoning review required still, even though it's somewhat tight, so Xavier does have the presentation. That's zoning variance.
Oh, we have to approve it? Okay.
And the reason why I asked, I've never seen a school or anything with more than 1 logo, so I don't.
It's
3
constellation of
schools.
It's 3 schools.
That's why it's a constellation of schools.
Okay.
It's like the
3
universe,
schools. Like
the planet.
I understand what that means, but no one ever described what I get it now, the 3 different schools. Thank you. Is it me or people aren't explaining things today? Sometimes it's not obvious.
All right, so let's, okay, we'll get serious now. Xavier, you want to give us the variance requirements?
Yep, so I'll just briefly mention, as you know, section 350.16 gives this body jurisdiction to vary the sign code to be either more strict or less strict than regulations provided. And main bullet points I usually explain are design compatibility, design guidelines, and minimum variation from zoning code. Just a brief summary, this is business identification sign of a freestanding sign for Constellation Schools. And so I did not receive the updated sign package before I did the review. So I believe they're just decreasing 1 foot. Let me verify. Yeah, 6. So from 7 to 6 feet in height. So they need the 1 foot height variance because they're going over the 5 feet max permitted for these types of signs. And also they're 5 feet from the property line, so they require the 15-foot variance because freestanding identification signs have to be 20 feet minimum from property lines. So mainly it's the 1 foot over for height variance and 15 feet variance from property line. Because they're only 5 feet from property line.
Madam Chair, are we, do we need a motion for the variance first before we approve the project for final approval?
I think we just need to include the variance in it. Yeah. So like
Just
we
note
need the
the
numbers, right?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Is there any more commentary? I move for us to approve FW 2024-007 West Park one word, Constellation School signage, which is seeking final approval. We are also including in this motion the variance required, which will be 1 foot on the height, on the height variance, as well as 15 feet variance for the property line.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Yeah.
Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Spike.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I do still have a question.
Go ahead.
Because in my
The
brain, it's not
Constellation
adding
is
up.
not adding-
There are 3
schools.
logos and only 2 schools named. So, I mean, I'm a practical and rational human being. So I just want to make that.
I think, I don't know, but
Exactly.
I'm gonna trust that there's, that this is under the purview or responsibility of Constellation School.
They're all gonna be doing them.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
Many more of these since then, so.
Okay. So next item is Downtown Flats Design Review. This is DF 2023-041 Globe Iron renovation. We saw.
Excuse me, Are
Yeah.
we done then?
Yes, we are. You got your approval.
Okay, thank you.
You should come in person next time. 2325 Elm Street.
Would I make you guys laugh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, Laura. So, just so you know, we granted schematic approval on February 16th. On our agenda are some of the comments and conditions that we made. Also in your item is that this was approved at Flats with conditions. There were 3 of them. And so we'll have you address those. They were
When will
reconsidered.
I get those?
Crushed limestone, permeable materials, accentuate the butterfly roof, and pin lighting pilasters as well. So those were on ours. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right.
I will need their names for the record and the sign.
Okay.
Great.
You can go sign in the way. Just state your name as you speak.
Jesse Spiker with LDA Architects.
And I'm Justin Miller with AEG Presents.
All right. I think they have your slides. There you go.
So we've, since February, we've been making a couple adjustments, trying to take in some community comments, did a little bit more grading and site studies, revised a few things and added a couple slides. So as I go through, I'll focus mostly on the items that we've changed and updated since February. You go back to the overall site view. I think we are going for a zoning variance. I don't know if we can talk about that at all today, which is the zoning variance we're seeking is the number of parking we're providing for the venue. I think overall between the lot to the left and the lot under the bridge, we're at 277. I think the way the zoning code calculated, we need almost 300. But I want to note that to the top right of the aerial view is all parking lots owned and operated by the landlord of the property as well. The parcel to the left, which is former Spruce Seed, I think we did clear that everything, that street is vacated and operated by Nautica. The rectangle that says Nautica to the right, half of that parcel is owned and operated by Nautica. The other half is leased by Nautica, so they control both parts of that small rectangle. And then under the bridge is the county-owned lot as well. Next slide, please. These are images. I think we saw these last time, but this is after some of the buildings that were approved to be demolished. Mostly focusing on the main street elevation. Basically, the facade that was left on that side is kind of broken into the 3 different conditions. The one to the far left is existing brick that we're going to repair and clean. And I think we got to repair the parapet. I think it's tilting in a little bit. The middle white section, since it's painted now, we are going to repair some of the damaged masonry that was holding up the roof joists of the previous building. And then that section will get painted. To the far right is probably the worst condition. We worked with Frost Architectural Solutions and consultants, and we have a cementitious product to coat that, preserve it and keep it watertight. And that surface will get painted. We're proposing to paint that surface as well. For those 5 historical windows that were uncovered, we're going to maintain 3. And then one of them will be used for box office windows. The other one will be used as the secondary entrance for private events. Next slide, please. There's a close-up of the windows, so we're going to keep the framing and clean up those windows.
Replace the glazing. We're not going to replace the window frames or the divided lights. And then we'll add storm windows on the inside for additional thermal insulation. Next slide, please. We added this map we've kind of been working with AEG, the tenant, on just kind of how they're going to market and kind of operate the site from a standpoint. So obviously most people will be coming down Main Street to access the site to get to the parking lots and get to the venue, whether through bikes, pedestrian, or vehicular traffic. We're going to push most of the vehicular traffic down Center Street to access the large parking lot to the left, as well as access to the proposed parking lot under the bridge. We'll also provide instructions for rideshare to get dropped off on Center Street. That way pedestrians are getting off on the right-hand side of the car, not having to cross traffic. And then that also allows them to go around the block and get back out to Main Street without interrupting too much of the pedestrian flow. The blue lines are kind of our pedestrian traffic. So if they're parking on the left parking lot, we're trying to provide a very clear access way to go around the Globe Iron 4-story building to get into the main courtyard entrance. And then a new sidewalk parallel to Main Street, our main avenue, is ADA accessible, then provides entrance to the VIP, the box office, and the secondary entrance off of that elevation as well. And then, of course, we're paying attention to the bike parking. We got bike parking on both sides of the building. And then you see in the site plans, we did allocate spaces for scooter parking and as well as motorcycle parking as well within our parking lot, within our parking. Next slide, please. So one thing we updated the courtyard and we got kind of updated and more accurate topography information. I think previously the courtyard was divided into 3 different tier segments. We were able to reduce it to 2. So the whole bottom surface is at a ADA slope, 2% slope. The top level is at a 2% slope. So we got a main stair down the middle. And then we revised the ramp to kind of follow some of our Part T diagrammatic things with the wheel and the gears, and kind of curve that into the courtyard space to get to the main entrance and to each level. And then along the brick path is actually going to work as a seating wall along the ramp as well. As we discussed, we were considering limestone as the main primary material in the courtyard, mostly for drainage. It was a 3-tier, tier 3 compaction limestone, which if installed correctly in the right specifications is able for handicap spots. But based on some of the comments we got from Planning Commission yesterday, we might reconsider at least a few spots of those to not be limestone, just avoid limestone getting on the steps or getting tracked into the building. We updated the landscaping on the left-hand side behind the service area. Before we provided a path to the emergency egress gate on that facade, so we kind of eliminated that pathway just so people walking to the venue don't mistake that for the main entrance. And again, we're trying to direct them around the building to the courtyard off the Main Street. We added a few more landscape areas within the parking lot area under the bridge, and in a few of the curb islands. We are also proposing a stone strong wall going around the parking lot. We'll show a few more details on that. The stone strong wall, we kind of picked that because it plays off a little bit of the viaduct bridge in terms of texture and scale. We'll go into a little more detail on that. We're also going to plant a few more ornamental grasses around the parking lot. We try to find the most hardy landscaping we could find. It is tough to grow stuff underneath that bridge, just from some of the runoff, but I think we found the most hardy plants. We have a landscape designer in office, and all our landscaping is also coordinated with Populous landscape architects. Next slide, please. This is the landscape plan, some of the plantings. The 3 semicircles within the courtyard, we're still proposing as AstroTurf, just with the sun and with the lack of sun and shade that gets through a majority of the day. And us want to maintain it as nice and green. We're still proposing the artificial turf. We are providing a different detail around the tree cutouts within there. And then the trees, of course, are ones that we specified are shade hardy. So they don't need as much sun as some other trees to be able to thrive within that space. Next slide, please. This is looking a little bit more detail on the parking lot dimensions and the parking dimensions. We did revise the pedestrian crosswalks at each of the curbs, and we are still required from a code standpoint to have 4 curb cuts. First, that little parcel that's split in 2 directly to the right of the Globe Iron building has 2 parcels. We are not consolidating the parcels, and each parcel needs to have its own curb cut. And then the county needs two access to get to either side of the bridge piers to support the bridge. They do need a curb cut on each side. Those throughout the majority of the time of the year will not be accessed or used for vehicular entries. Only in the event that the county needs to get under the bridge to do repairs or maintenance to the bridge will those be kind of unblocked off and used in that event. But we did update all the curb and crosswalks to be more pedestrian friendly than the last time we had it. Next slide, please. This site plan just has a few more dimensions and notes for the parking lot surface itself and the civil drawings for the pedestrian crosswalks and the updates to the sidewalks. Next slide, please. And then this is the grading plan throughout, just ensuring that at the top and bottom of the hill, we got our accessible routes, and then the sidewalk to the box office and back down to the VIP on Elm Street is all handicap accessible. Next slide, please. This is our plan palette with some of the plans we called out on the site plan. Next slide, please. Top left, we added the image of what the stone strong wall will look like with the chiseled granite finish texture to it. Bottom right, we kind of provided a different detail for the tree cutouts and the artificial turf. The main steps in the middle will have step lighting and then ADA compliant crushed stone, which we talked about as well. Next slide, please. We updated our bike rack spec per city comments requirements. One of the comments we got from the planning commission yesterday is to consider a metal roof instead of a acrylic type of roof. We are providing lighting under the canopy, so I think loss of transmitted light through into the main entry will not be a big deal. We also have a couple of festoon lights, tree lights, and baller lights throughout the courtyard as well. Next slide, please. Here are the interior floor plans, just for reference, if we need to reference them for discussions. But the main entry into the venue, so when we have the main act going into the venue, they will enter in through the courtyard into the pink purplish lobby space. If this is rented out for a wedding or something like that, we provided double doors off the main and a canopy in case they need to load off or access directly from the parking lot and not go through the courtyard. Next slide, please. The elevations, we provided more information and a little bit more detail on the proposed with faux windows around the venue. It's still a black box venue, so in terms of getting talent and booking acts, they're very opposed to natural light within the venue, so they can control the lighting. But we are providing glazed shadow box window details now on the Elm Street elevation, and we are also enhancing kind of upgraded the windows on the Elm Street side to be kind of glazed shadow box windows as well. All of them will be internally lit, so we can turn them on at nighttime and they'll glow at nighttime, so it doesn't look like a dark box if the venue is not being used. And then some of the larger openings on the Elm Street side, we're doing a kind of AZAC or fiber cement type of trim detail for simulated garage doors, very similar to what we saw on the very, very first slide of the presentation. On the courtyard side in the middle elevation there, and I think as we mentioned, all signage and all artwork will come back for each one of those at a separate date, but we're still just showing the placeholders and general locations of where we're looking at all that. And those three arches in the middle elevation will be a home for some sort of artwork or signage within the courtyard. Next slide, please. More elevation on site. So we'll have a marquee sign facing Main Street. We will have a logo sign closer to the left above the historical windows that come out. Again, that will all be finalized and submitted later. Come back review. We've also added 3 shadow box windows to the Main Street elevation as well. And we're keeping most of the right-hand portion of the wall as a surface for doing more additional art, and that's a cementitious product that we're looking at. Next slide, please. So we'll go through the renderings real quick. So this is kind of how people parking on that larger parking lot to the west will enter the site. We are kind of working with landlords at any possible, we'll come back and submit this later, but if there's any possible opportunities to provide more signage or directions or advertisements on the Globe Iron building to help support the venue, we will consider that. So we just showed an example of that on this building, the stuff we'll look at moving forward. We'll look at providing some street furniture and plantings along the former Spruce and Center Street, just to help until any renovation or features determined with the Globe Iron building. To help Make that just seem a little bit more friendly, and a little more soft going around that area. Next slide, please. Again, this is kind of where we update on landscape patterns, so we're not hiding kind of the emergency egress into the courtyard, just so that pedestrians walking through, they don't get confused and try gathering by that gate or think that they can get in that way. So we're really trying to make sure everyone is confident and can navigate around this to Center Street and go into the main entry of the courtyard. Next slide, please. We just provide a quick warning on the other side. Again, our intent is to try to soften up that landscaping until the feature for the 4-story globe iron as a development plan is finalized. Next slide, please. Then this takes you over to the Main Street elevation. Again, as I think we generally agree with the comments we got from design review yesterday, that maybe looking at a metal roof over top that butterfly roof structure, trying to make it stand out a little bit so it doesn't read as dark upon entry. So we're going to study that some more. You can see the stone strong wall, which will also have a concrete cap to it all the way around. You can see some of the landscaped windows that we're proposing. The other comment we got from design review is the window we're infilling where the 2 ticket windows are. We're going to try to accentuate the historical window opening more than just kind of reclad in with matching brick. So we're going to consider that, so that way that opening is kind of demarcated and noted, kind of something we do some with the historical preservation standards. Next slide, please. An overall view, kind of seeing the courtyard and the main entry and the Main Street facade. Next slide, please. This is looking at the corner of Elm and Main Street, looking at the parking lot. You see that the stone strong wall will step to go down through the main avenue sidewalk there. Next slide, please. And closer up with the box office windows and the secondary entry into the venue. Next slide, please. And these are views within the courtyard. So again, we have 2 levels with 1 main stair connecting all the both levels. We have some seating walls, and then some soft areas for gathering. All the furniture and a lot of the accessories is basically meant to be flexible. So no matter what the venue is, AG's ability to cater to whatever the event is and reorganize and kind of redecorate that courtyard for each individual event. Next slide, please. A few nighttime renderings with showing the bollards and some of the tree lights. I think some of the comments they mentioned the lighting on the pilasters. I think it was referring to the 4-story globe iron building. So it's something we could consider talking about with the landlord, but it might also wait until whatever developments features determined for that building as well. It's a little bit about AG, the tenant's control and our control as well. And there's a couple more slides. We kind of flip through these. Possible lighting setup just for reference. Next slide, please. And then those CMU walls that you saw inside the courtyard. It won't look like CMU. That's where we'll have some sort of artwork or display in there in the long term. And then this is the Main Street elevation, so you can see the kind of updated shadow box details and the simulated garage doors, some of the larger openings. I believe that's the, and this is the sidewalk that we kind of just help screen off the service area and a little bit of the parking as people may need to navigate between Elm Street and Center Street.
My one question from the, stay there. The limestone comment, the limestone's in the courtyard?
Yes.
And is it one specific part of the courtyard, or is it basically everything that's not?
In this area, the lighter white texture is the proposed limestone. Underneath the canopy would be all concrete. In front of the doorways would be concrete for frost slab protection.
Okay. So on both levels though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My comment is, I'm okay with the limestone. My worry about some permeable pavements is that they're harder to traverse in a wheelchair with a walker or something. So I wouldn't want it to become the situation where it becomes difficult for someone with limited mobility, or that there's only one specific area where they'd be able to go. And I think limestone has got more like a beer garden feel. I think it's workable. If it's up to, I mean, ultimately it's up to you. You were asked to consider it, but I think that the limestone would be okay. Just that's my personal opinion.
I think in our experiences, the limestone is really about the details and the specifications we put along with it.
And fresh limestone is permeable, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's one of our stormwater concerns, is
Yeah.
we didn't want, you know.
Well, I think like
Well,
sometimes
it's
like they do
it's
like
not
the
like you're
lattice concrete,
putting
you know,
asphalt
that's
and it's not
permeable, like
permeable.
you'll see in like parking
Yeah.
lots, the lattice concrete, which is, it's very permeable, but it's difficult to get
Yeah.
over if you're like in a wheelchair or something.
Right.
So I would hate to like replace this with that,
Yeah, I
because I
totally
think that
agree.
becomes an accessibility issue,
Totally.
so.
But I mean, the point was I was making is that permeable, right,
Yes.
which is a good thing. We're not paving this. Right. I just want to thank you guys. I mean, from when we started and I think saving the building and to create kind of incorporating the comments, it's really come a long way and it's going to be a very cool project. It's very Cleveland also. And I think people are going to enjoy both the uniqueness and the cool space and the intimacy that's going to come from the kind of acts. And I do think a lot of people will use it for weddings and other events. And it's just really Cleveland to kind of keep the buildings the backdrop. It's still going to have a little bit of that Cleveland kind of, it's not all the way cleaned up in Disneyland, like, you know, which I'm so glad you didn't do that,
We
right?
can
If
do
you-
that, but that, we want the character.
Yeah, totally. And so honestly, sometimes you're not in a kind of fighting a little bit to keep some of the things you haven't figured out, like the other building. It's actually okay. It's Cleveland. So I thank you for that really, and for working and for the work you guys did on this. It's really come a long way. It's a beautiful project. So.
We did receive a lot of commendation from design review, I believe,
Good.
yesterday for the collaborative nature and kind of coming up with the plan. It's really good.
You know, Madam Chair, to the applicant, that, I don't know if you've ever been, I'm not a baseball person, but the ballpark in Baltimore.
Yes.
You know how the older sort of depot building,
The back, yeah.
and it's in the background, this is sort of similar, where you actually, they were able to create different venues and hospitality, but the backdrop of it is interesting because it's not really part of the ballpark, but it's still there. And I think that this could be an opportunity to find the proper use for it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
And also note for the record, Flats Forward sent in a letter.
Support. So to this point though, from whoever's going to make the motion, I do think if we are okay with,
Actually, Madam Chair, I only have one comment. The center boxes and the benches shown on Center and Spruce, is that your client's responsibility to maintain? Is that something that's coming with it?
That, see, I think that's landlord, isn't it?
I'm just wondering again. So that's, since someone else is going to put those.
We do have landlord representatives here with us today too. Any questions?
so it's a good question. Were your preferences to stay with the limestone?
We might consider like more at the top of the stairs, adding a little bit more concrete, just so some of the stone doesn't get kicked onto the steps at the top. I think that's what we're thinking right now, but I think the majority of it, we still want to keep mostly in limestone.
So are you okay leaving that to staff? Yeah. Okay, so someone should add that into the motion that we're supportive of that as well. And the conditions, yeah.
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to add a little more context to that comment from downtown Flats. That was coming from Jamie Schwartzberg in particular. You know, her concern, obviously, yes, you can camp some of that limestone up onto the steps, that gives a slip hazard. But it's also, over time, you have to maintain that limestone to be ADA compliant. We'll get better up over time. The edges will start to create lips between the edge of the limestone and the concrete, and the edge of the limestone and the brick that are standing there. And some trip hazards and things like that. There's also an issue of the limestone actually being created on shoes into the venue, creating other slip hazards and swimming hazards. Just as an anecdote, when I was working for the public school system in Milwaukee, we did some crushed limestone like this, and we became the engineers' favorite people because they had to scoop up or mop up, you know, red crushed brick and very crushed limestone in another school. So that's something that you should consider when you think about in this long term, and that would be attractive.
Madam Chair, I might offer the applicant to look into like a resin bound, so particularly a product like Kafka stabilized solution, so the resin will keep some of that limestone in place, but still be a permeable solution. There's another product called Organic Lock. There's a number of these things where you can apply a resin to a degree where it'll hold the majority of that material in place. You still have that tactile feel, but you'll still get that permeable quality.
I mean, I think this detail we can label them. Yeah, be yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion? Or someone else? Motion?
Do I have to do this?
Yes, go.
Okay.
So good at
You're so good at it.
I know, whatever. Madam Chair, I move to approve, downtown flights item 2023-041 for final approval with the final, the following conditions. That the applicant, look at the type of material at the butterfly, canopy. The applicant also look at a way to stabilize the crushed stone, limestone paving areas, prevent maintenance issues. And the applicant consider looking at some type of pin lighting at pilasters if, in fact, there's a use for the building, if it stays. If not, obviously, you guys understand.
And can they go back to staff with those so they don't have to come back?
Sure, yeah, I was gonna.
And one more thing to confirm with staff, the anchors or benches or what have you, that'll surround the Globire building, because I think that's out here. So if there's some agreement with the landlord or something, that can be like documented. Yeah.
No problem. Okay, all right, and I'll add that as well. Thanks to that the applicant and the owners work with the other landlord to come up with a reasonable solution for planters in and around existing building. I believe that's it.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Smythe.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I would, one thing, Madam Chair, and I think with permeable pavers, and I've dealt with this in the future with a lot of clients, they're not maintained, vacuumed and cleared. They become more of a problem. I know Case started taking out a lot of their permeable pavers for that reason. So we haven't gotten there yet in terms of how to maintain it. You have to be more diligent, obviously. Otherwise, it gets clogged up, things start growing out of it, and if you don't maintain it properly.
Thank you. So you just go to director can sign up on the permit. So when you go to her with everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We'll
Thank
be
you.
at the first event. We're coming. All right, public art. First one is Northeast 2024005. This is in St. Clair Superior Development Corporation, placemaking public art. Kasumi Art Wall, final approval, 6335 St. Clair Avenue. Joe Lancelota, is he online? He is, okay. Do you want to open? Are you sure? You don't want to say anything? All right, Joe, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, hello, everyone.
Hello.
So we're presenting a final concept for an art wall, which is this kind of rotating printed banner system. You can see here an example of it at Public Square. It's kind of this aluminum framed system that has a printed stretched canvas over it. We call it an art wall. It's this platform for interchangeable artwork that allows artists to present and engage in a public art platform. So, this is especially helpful for artists who maybe don't do murals or haven't worked in the public realm in a physical capacity. It's a way to showcase their artwork to the public in the public space, and it's been highly successful. We've done it here at Public Square. We also manage a number of art walls for Cleveland Public Library, and this will be the second art wall in the St. Clair Superior neighborhood as part of a series of public art installations that we're working on with different stakeholders in the St. Clair neighborhood. So this is the building. We had approval to pursue the implementation of an art wall here. You can see underneath the glass block windows. This is the location we're looking at as a way to activate streetscape with color and vibrancy. You can go to the next slide, please. A little bit more context. Next slide, please. These are just dimensions and a little bit more context. You can go to the next slide. So we worked with Zygote Press to identify a series of artists who might be good for this project. The stakeholders had chosen Kasumi, who is a Cleveland native and artist who has worked a lot with Zygote. Traditionally, she is a video artist, so this is kind of a great way for her to experiment with, you know, a different printed public art piece. You can go to the next slide. So this is her concept. She wanted to take the inspiration of, you know, the multicultural character of the St. Clair Superior neighborhood and kind of borrow different visual cues and identities, textures, colors, patterns, and create this new kind of tapestry for the neighborhood. So this is her final concept for the piece. You can go to the next slide and might show a mock-up of it in the space. So this is what the piece would look like in the space. And this might be the last slide. Yes, it is.
Tara?
Good morning, Commission. This project was approved by the Northeast Design Review Committee on May 21st as presented. As Joe alluded to, as part of a larger neighborhood project. You all did approve all of the locations, I believe at the March 15th Planning Commission meeting. I think it's a nice activation of the space. I am in support. They had reviewed this entire project with the Councilman Harrison as well. So I am in support of the project. Thank you. Oh, there is one correction. The address is 6225 St. Clair.
Thank you, Tara.
I just want to clarify, and I hope we can do this to staff, like with a art wall that has a permanent frame that gets rotated, we don't need to see it every time, right? So it's not like in a year when you're going to rotate a different artist, staff can approve that. Okay, I just don't want to make, we shouldn't have to see every year. Okay.
The cafe art wall, they send the art every time they change it.
Okay. Okay. Good.
You're comfortable with that?
We are.
Thank you.
I'm
a proponent.
Madam Chair, just a quick question to Joe. Apologies if I missed this. What's the frequency that you all anticipate changing the art wall, excuse me?
So I think we'd like to keep these art walls up for a longer period than we rotate the public square one out. We rotate public squares, I think 3 times a year. These we would like to stay up for multiple years if they can. So that would be the hope, is that we can keep these up for a couple of years and then as funding becomes available, change them out over time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the art.
Second.
Motion and second, call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Brewster.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Smart.
Yes.
Motion carried. The next one is the mural 2024-010 Old Brooklyn Farmers Market, 4209 Pearl Road. Connor, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So just to provide a little bit of background on this project, We received a grant from Cuyahoga Arts and Culture to activate our farmers market using public art. So next slide, please. The project site is located right at the center of the neighborhood, right at the intersection of Memphis and Pearl. And the project will involve a mural on the exterior of a currently vacant commercial property. It's located, as everyone knows, at 4209 Pearl. We've been working with the property owner in collaboration with this. Since late last year, the 4 windows on the facade have been boarded up. And so we wanted to work really closely with them in order to activate that space because we have ongoing branding and placemaking projects along this corridor. And so we just wanted to be able to beautify it a little bit. So you can see here, this is the current conditions of the facade directly. I also have 2 other views from the south and the west. So kind of further up the street. And then moving on, in terms of the art itself, as I mentioned, we are going to be covering the windows. So there are 4 unique designs, and we were able to secure a local artist, Corey Richards. Our farmers market manager worked closely with her to develop the designs. And so the idea is that the paint will be applied to a medium density overlay board, which will then be drilled into each of the windows. So there will be no structural changes to the building. And one aspect of this project, which we really are excited about, is that the community will be involved in the process. So throughout the farmers market season, attendees will be able to help contribute and paint the panels, and they will be installed over the course of the season, which runs from about mid-July to late September. And as you can see here, this is the rendering of what it would look like. The panels aren't necessarily going to be in this particular order. It's just the way that it was presented to us, so they can be changed around easily. And one thing that I did want to note also is that this is meant to be a temporary intervention while the building remains vacant. So if it were to be occupied, we would be taking those panels down. And that's all I have for the presentation, so thank you.
I'm hungry.
Me too. Blueberries. I like blueberries.
This project was unanimously approved by Near West Design Review on May 22nd. And I did get an email of support on May 20th from Councilman Harsh for the project. And as a temporary intervention, I'm in support as well. And hopefully the MBO board will sustain however much time that the building is vacant. But I think it's a improvement from what's there now. That's it.
Right. Thank you, Tara.
I will move approval of the Old Brooklyn Farmers Market murals.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Hampton.
Yes.
Fluker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Sargent. Yes. White.
Yes.
Motion carries. 2024-027, Destination Cleveland's Harmonies 1 to 3 temporary public art, final approval. This is at the East 9th Willard Garage, the East 9th Street at Shoreway, and 1375 East 9th Street. Alex, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
You get a permanent seat here.
It
Every
seems like
2
it sometimes.
weeks, which is good.
Yeah, that's not a bad
That's
thing.
the
I'll
point.
probably be here for a couple more.
Uh-oh.
So this is a project that we are proposing for late July through late October. It's 3 pieces of public art produced by Lamont Studio, who did the badge sculptures. The idea here is to provide some additional engagement, activity, photo opportunities for the big events that are coming through August and October. I'm sure we all know from making that walk down East 9th Street that, you know, if it's a beautiful day and you're looking out at the lake, that's a nice walk. If it's anything less than that, it's
not so great of an experience going over the railroad and the freeway. We're just trying to sort of draw the eye away from that, to provide some more opportunities for interactive public art as you make that walk down 9th. So this would be on a 3-month lease, trying to get them in before the pro wrestling event in the stadium, August 3rd, and then they would come out after Rock Hall inductions. So Le Mans Studio would bring these in from Montreal, install, maintain, remove them. It's basically a turnkey thing. 2 of the sites are city-owned, 1 is private. I'll note that we are still working with the private owner at 1 Cleveland Center to use their plaza, but I expect that we'll get there. If we don't for some reason, I'll bring you a revision and a new site. So the way that we presented this yesterday at design review was sort of piece by piece and site by site. So I'll give you the first one and then we can pause for questions if that's okay. The first location is East 9th, just south of the Shoreway ramp, basically between the ramp and the rapid station. There's a set of rock boxes there and sort of a flat plateau of grass on which we would like to put this slide shaped like a guitar. Much like the badges, it has a crank, it plays music. We intend to work with the Rock Hall to get some content from this year's inductees to load into all 3 of these.
It's a slide?
It's a slide. It's previously been built. This is from its last stop in Houston. So Le Monde both custom builds works for cities like they did for our badges. They build other things that can sort of tour around. So this has appeared in a couple of places, but it's available for this summer if we sign a contract soon. And so we're excited about this. It's about 18 feet long, slides 3 feet wide, sits on an 8-foot wide base. Here you see that base has been covered up by some kind of aggregate sandbox. We'd probably do that with like an AstroTurf, the same way we did the script sign, temporary script sign across from Rocket Mortgage, just to keep that from being a slippery situation and also to try to blend it in with the grass as best we can. That wide base keeps it stable, so you can't knock it over lengthwise. Obviously, it's not going anywhere. Can't knock it over widthwise. Lengthwise, it's not going. So we would cite this. The one note and concern we got out of city staff was proximity to that off ramp. You know, sometimes you get some high speeds there. I laid it out with some survey tape Monday of this week and just took a good site walk. You get about 50 feet of separation from that off ramp, and there's also a lot of grade change, so it really doesn't feel like you're up on top of traffic. I'm an N of 1, but I would let my kids go down this slide, especially if it was sliding away from the Shoreway. If we get it up there and it doesn't feel safe for some reason, I would offer that we'd work with Public Works maybe to get a little bit of bike rack along that sidewalk, just if we get there and it doesn't feel quite right. But walking it on a normal weekday, like I said, it feels like a pretty decent separation. There's some photos in here that are next, I believe, that try to convey that. So this is me standing on the sidewalk. It's a good distance and an uphill away from that ramp. So questions on this first piece and or site?
What's the distance to the East 9th sidewalk?
To the East 9th sidewalk is something like 25 feet, and that's a 15-foot sidewalk, if I'm remembering correctly. So you get 35, 40 feet of separation from traffic there too.
Oh, I'm wondering if it's even able to push closer to the sidewalk. Does it feel like it's too far from the side to be noticed or to be appreciated that it's a thing? Whereas like someone's walking down with the kid and you can kind of stand on the sidewalk and let them go down a couple times. You know?
I think it needs to be kid tested.
Yeah, I think so.
And adult.
An adult.
If the kid sees something like that, they're gonna gravitate to it.
Yeah.
That may be a little bit challenging with the grade change. Doesn't reflect as well in this photo, but you come down a little bit from 9th. There's a bit of a plateau. I would say definitely open to a field decision there. We can push it as close to 9th as we can get level ground.
I'm okay with that. I don't know if others agree, but What I
No,
wouldn't want is that it feels like it's so far out.
That you
people
won't.
Go to it. That they
We'll
just
take
won't.
that
Yeah.
detour.
Yeah.
I see what yeah. Having raised kids, I get it.
We can trust that they'll figure it out on site, don't you? Yeah. It's temporary. It's temporary. So. Go on to the next one.
Okay, so second location is, we're moving south. We're on the
Pause. I
other
do
side.
want to say it should be called slide guitar, not guitar slide.
That is a missed opportunity,
Yes,
right?
Into linguistics today, aren't you?
I thought you were gonna say slide guitar.
Oh, that's fine too, yeah.
Sponsorship opportunity.
Sponsorship opportunity. Can we switch to the, go
Sure thing. So moving south on the other side of the railroad bridge, there's this opening. I believe there used to be some sort of a decorative gate in here, but it's gone. Our initial inclination was to sort of center the microphone inside that gate opening. The advice we got from design review and from city staff was make sure that the lawnmower can still get through there. I think that's how they access that lawn to cut it. So we may not be able to sit directly in that opening the way that we want, but this is in the north to south dimension where we want to be, whether we're slightly inside that gate or we're out on the sidewalk. We'll work with either real estate or with mocap and sidewalks to, or both, to figure out exactly where we need to be to accommodate all that push and pull. But would welcome your recommendations on that.
Next one.
I tell you, lawnmower drivers are a different breed.
Having done that job for a little while in the metro.
Why I'm saying that is they'll find a way to hit it, even if it's not in the open.
And they probably, the reason there's no gate there in the first place. So, all right, keep going.
So then the third proposal, and the only one that's on private property, would be on the plaza at One Cleveland Center at 9th and St. Clair. This piece, again, was built by Lamond. It was built last year for the 50th anniversary of hip hop and originally displayed in New York. So thinking about, you know, all the different genres that are coming in through this year's rock inductions, we've got a hip hop piece, we've got a guitar piece, and we've got the microphone piece. You know, we would try to match artists to that. It's 8 feet tall by 8 feet wide, and it sits on an 8 foot by 8 foot base, which is filled with concrete pavers to give it stability, so that much like the badges, it's forklift in, set down, filled up with concrete, and then removed in reverse.
You guys okay? Can we leave this to the city to figure out all the locations?
Madam Chair, I just had a quick question. One of the comments from design review, submit engineered drawings. Is that to a specific?
Just for stability, they wanted to see the weights and whether it needed to be anchored.
For each one or
Yes.
for, okay.
Which it was not in its previous cities, but happy to submit those drawings.
But yes, I am.
I mean, are you gonna have to pay engineers to do drawings?
My hope is no. When Lamond has prepared things for us in the past, they've had those.
They've had
They're able to give sort of a center
Good,
of mass.
Okay.
I think it'll be enough.
Okay.
Yeah, so the conditions, this was approved by Downtown Flats yesterday with conditions. The first condition was to orient the bottom of the slide, to face south from away from roadways. Like he said, positioning the microphone to not impede pedestrian movement too much or, maintenance access to the hillside. And, Alex did mention in yesterday's meetings about the engineering studies, so they asked that the engineering drawings also be included, to staff and for permitting. I think this is a great activation. I want to commend Destination Cleveland again for the amount of public art activation they've been doing on a temporary basis as well as permanent, especially throughout the neighborhoods. This one is particularly fun to me because of the interaction with the music, and if they can work with the Rock Hall to get the licenses on the inductees' music to be playing from these locations. I think that's great, and I really enjoy the interaction between the rock box and the roll box. I think that's a pretty cool interaction. So I am in support of this. I did forget to reach out to Councilman McCormick, but I feel strongly based on his track record that he would support this as well. But I did just post about it.
As a point of note, I think I am a person who takes part in a lot of the city. I'm around a lot. I go out a lot. I go to events. And I have never once been near one of the boxes when they were playing music. Never. Have you?
I hear them when I'm walking over to the Y.
Do you? Do they like play on the hour or something? Or like, do you have you?
I haven't. I ride my bike.
Exactly. Have you? Exactly. I think you guys are making it up. All right, Kate, this is not for you. All right, give me a motion.
You ready?
That's hearing
Sure.
things.
Yeah, okay.
Never any music come out of them, ever.
I can try. So I move that we approve DF 2024-27 Destination Cleveland's Harmonies 3 temporary public art, which is seeking final approval. It seems that the applicant has already incorporated the suggested conditions by design review, and that we ask to continue to work with city staff for final approval.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Luther.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. See you next week, 2 weeks. Life Act mural seeking final approval, 3154 West 14th Street. Garrett, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury, online, in person.
He's online.
I do.
Okay, let's go.
All right, here we go. Next slide, please. Life Act mural. Here is the location, 3154 West 14th. It's on the south end of Tremont. Next slide. And here is the side of the building. The left side is the front of the building, and what we're looking at where the mural is that big empty area with all that brick there. Let's see, what did I write down? We are going to clean and prep the mural if approved. And I used the best materials, Montana, also exterior Sherwin-Williams paints as well. Can't get better than that. Next slide, please, for some more viewpoints. Here we go. West 14th is the storefront side. And then the north side is Rowley Avenue. It's like a small little street that dead ends, but it's also very visible. So there's a couple viewpoints there. Next slide, please. Here we go. We have my mural proposal, and we have a profile of like a head kind of, and like the brain is kind of floral and colorful. And then outside of it is even larger floral and blooms and foliage symbolizing the blooming of the future and the possibilities that life has. So next slide, please. Oh, one more thing. It's designed this way too, because on the front of the building is like a decorative limestone, kind of partially there. So that's why it kind of trickles off and stays away from anything decorative. And it's only going to be on that side of the wall that's like, it's kind of like a Mod Podge of brick. And I think that would be a perfect spot. Anyway, a couple other viewpoints here. Next slide, please. Another viewpoint. This is a viewpoint from the sidewalk. Next slide, please. Pardon my voice. I must have allergies or something. I can't stop sneezing. Anyway, here are some of my previous works to show that I am a competent artist. This is my latest one in Garfield Heights. It's for a local market. And that's just one example. Next slide is some more examples of some previous work. Yeah, the top one's for Cuyahoga County Developmental Disabilities, where we had people with various disabilities participate. Oh, there's a dog spa one, so people can take pictures with selfies with their dogs. Next slide, I think we got one more of a big project. Oh, yeah, here's a couple more.
Yeah, these-
Tremont
Hey.
and Van Aken.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Just a thought. So Garrett, I love your work. I actually love the way that it also really is site specific. So if you go to your work, like the second one, go one more slide. No, to the work, his existing work. That one, or go to the next one. There's like a real interplay between the building and the artwork. In this case, like the flowers kind of popping across the datum line. So my question for this existing mural is, if you go back to the rendering, is would you be opposed to thinking about up until the architectural part of this is actually like painting the brick? Like it looks like it doesn't have the same sort of like site specificity that the others do in terms of it's just like there on the, do you understand what I'm saying? Like a blank color or something that frames this, it doesn't have the same site specificity that your other ones do, that fill the wall, that look like in doing this, you could actually accentuate the fact that the corner is more architectural. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Ending prior, or even
Yeah.
the top of the roof, like stopping a bit more, or.
The thing I love about all your work and the examples you showed is that the buildings themselves actually, it accentuates the buildings as well as, especially like, even love the play of this like datum line on this one at the bottom, or the other ones kind of fill the building. So I don't know if there's just a way to use the background color to also just think about like a background color on this one. That might just go up right to the, not the whole thing, but up to the architectural elements.
I am not opposed to it. I just might not be the greatest at Photoshop. So,
Could be
but
that too.
I do make artistic decisions like on the fly sometimes. Sometimes when you design it, you never know how it's really going to be in real life. And so I'm not opposed to actually changing it as we go. But yeah, I'm all for having it blend in and become part of the building.
Yeah.
Just like you had said. But yeah, it was a thought about like, okay, how do we stay away from any other architectural elements? But also being mindful of budget and time.
Yeah.
How do we get that done? But I think that would be a great idea of maybe blending it into the brick background, which I've done before on previous murals in Old Brooklyn, where there was like a really bad painting or something done. And we actually kind of painted faux brick around it to simulate the bad artwork that was behind it.
It just feels foreign. This one feels a little foreign, but it could be your Photoshop. So I will give you that. And I'm okay with the flexibility, since this was approved, of allowing some flexibility when you're on site to play with the existing conditions a little bit more.
You know what, Lillian? I don't disagree with you, but I kind of like sort of the contrast.
That's totally fine.
No, I like the fact that it's sort of like not perfect, right? I mean, the backdrop of it.
Yeah. Maybe.
So, you know, you almost.
Anyway, we don't want to get into the design.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to
No,
you.
I don't
You got my comments. You can do it on site. How's that? Tara, go ahead.
Hey, that rough contrast means we're imperfect, just like ourselves.
There we go.
There you go.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, so this particular location is not in a design review district, so it came directly from you all. I did receive a letter of permission from the building owner, as well as an email of support from Councilwoman Moore. I'm in support as well. Garrett and I had several discussions around how to integrate this artwork with the building. Normally, raw brick building, I'd be a little hesitant about putting some artwork on, but given the conditions of the random brick, all the tuck pointing, it's a very unsightly wall, so I think the art will definitely enhance it as is, or with Lillian's suggestion. We did discuss definitely staying away from the architectural details towards the front of the building though. So again, this is another one I'm in support of. Garrett is a very good artist, especially skilled with floral artwork. So I think whatever he decides on site is gonna be something very substantial and welcoming for the neighborhood.
Oh, thank you. Tara, you're the best. One other thing, before we go, I've worked with the building owners for a long time, they're longtime friends, so they've been talking about putting something on this wall forever. So this is really neat to see something possibly finally come to fruition. And as a longtime Tremont resident, I lived there for a long time, so it's a really cool homecoming anytime I could work back in the neighborhood. So it means something special to me too.
Oh, move to approve item mural on 3154 West 14th Street. With the caveat that the artist take in consideration existing conditions as he creates his master work.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Swire.
Yes.
Motion carries. You may be the first artist to ever come here and get latitude to do whatever you want when you get on site. So Tara will be out there with your painting. Just to make sure. We have never done this before in the history of the planning commission. So I can't
Yes.
wait. So go nuts.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, mandatory referrals. This is authorizing the Director of Community Development and Purchases and Supplies to enter into one or more agreements for land assembly for neighborhood development and providing the option to purchase and sell and the sale of city property with STA Realty, Inc. Who's going to present this? This is primarily in the Upper Chester neighborhood.
The Community Development Department reached out to us yesterday, and they have several staff out today and would like to request postponement.
I would like to postpone mandatory referral ordinance 613/2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Swire.
Yes.
Motion carries. Erica stepped out to the restroom. We have administrative referral, approvals to take a look at them. There are 6 of them. Any questions on any of them or?
I move approval of the 6 administrative approvals.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
I have 10 seconds. Sorry.
Oops.
Yes.
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sargent, yes, Swire.
Yes.
Motion carried. So we have a director's report before we adjourn.
Sure. So the first one is about scheduling. So thank you to everybody who responded about July schedules. So we will be meeting on Friday, July 12th and Friday, July 26th, which is the second and fourth Fridays of the month, rather than the first and the third. Mostly because of the July 4th holiday, there's no meeting that Friday. You're don't need to come in. Given today's attendance, I do want to make sure that we have everybody's vacation schedules for the summer. So I'll be reaching out just to ensure that we have quorum for our agenda items in advance. So it'd be great to know, if you're going to be out of town knowingly, and sending that in to me for the rest of us. I do want to mention too that I would like to host a working lunch on July 12th. So I will reach out again to confirm calendars, but that is an opportunity for some of our staff to have a discussion with you all about plan adoption guidelines. We've received many requests for plan adoption, or at least plans that want to get started. And so we would love to have a guideline in place in order to guide our discussions and how the staff should be involved in those, as well as what the commission is looking for.
So will you resend there? We don't have calendar invites,
Okay.
just so you know. I'm looking at mine. I still have a meeting on my calendar on the 19th. So should I delete that?
I'll have our staff resend them. And it may be that you have to delete it on your calendar.
Okay, I mean, I'll delete it, but we are now going to the 12th
12th and the 26th.
and the 26th. So someone should send them. I don't have one, so they obviously haven't sent them yet, but
I believe that's Miss Spade, so I'll.
Okay.
make sure she's-
that is,
Any reactions about calendar? Otherwise, we'll go to the next slide.
go ahead.
Right, next, form-based code. So yay, it's unanimously passed on Monday. Thank you to our partners at City Council. Thank you, Councilman Slate. Thank you to August, who came and spoke on behalf of the commission, DPNS. Thank you to Shannon Leonard, of course, for leading the way, and of course to Adam, Kayla, Nate, Kim Scott, and Xavier for supporting the effort across the finish line. So we're just so thankful. It is going to become in effect July 3rd because of a 30-day period for all zoning matters. So it will hit the ground running, and our job now is to operationalize it, the application process, the technical review committee, and all the administrative efforts there. I will mention also we are hiring 2 folks. Jobs have been posted earlier this week. We are going to hire a development review coordinator, which will be great administrative help to us. Right now, we have 6 different intake for each of the planners, and we're really hoping to streamline that, streamline the zoning review, and make sure that there's a process that there's one individual that people can go to that will handle things like the windows and vinyl siding that you never even have to see, but come to us for administrative approvals. We will also be hiring an assistant zoning administrator to assist Shannon. Right now, she's the one reviewing all the letters of nonconformance, every zoning review. And so we'll ensure that someone is in place so that they're helping the plans examiners to look at that zoning. Any questions about that? I will send those job descriptions out. All right, that's it. Anything else?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
We had thought July 12th, but since we're gonna have a working lunch, maybe a different date, but, so Councilwoman Spencer represents council on the tree commission.
Yes.
And she and I have been talking a lot about, this kind of goes back to my earlier comment about trees, about having, and it's, we can notice it if it needs to be noticed, but some kind of casual meetup of members of the planning commission, members of the tree commission, because I think there's sort of a Venn diagram of what do we do and where is their alignment, and try, especially since the tree commission is newer in operation, kind of understanding where are there areas where we can understand how we can leverage the 2 commissions to make sure we're rowing in the same direction. So I'll find a date for that, but we had thought something like a late afternoon on a Friday where people can come and kind of like learn what the other commission does and kind of, you know, talk about priorities and just kind of do a meet and greet type of thing. So we'll coordinate it, we'll find a date and send it out to everyone. Obviously, I can't say it's mandatory because I'm not in charge of anyone, but we just thought it'd be a useful thing potentially. So.
Should we just do it officially, meaning that would, from a sunshine law?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
We probably, if we're gonna have a quorum, maybe we have the tree commission come to us, or we come to that commission and do it officially, just because I think we would get run into sunshine.
Yeah, so maybe Director, I'll circle with you, and I had kind of thought like we had prior to when Freddie Collier was still director, we did that offsite at Merwin's Wharf.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of like something like that where it's kind of like an offsite retreat. We can notice it, people can come, but it's something that'll be maybe enjoyable for people to come to and not just like a city hall meeting. So.
Maybe
All the city hall's super
In
enjoyable.
that case, let's do it after tree commission meeting, because they meet Tuesday afternoons at the end of 5. So then.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll figure out. I just think it'd be a useful thing.
I agree.
So.
I would like to just commend all the staff and everyone who supported form-based code.
Yeah.
It.
A heroic lift.
Yes, actually, the committee meeting was sort of cathartic. I mean, because I think,
Cathartic? Is that what you said?
yeah, because